digital divide, promoting menstrual health, and also preventing gender-based violence. We hope to commit where every young person, especially girls, lead and transform communities. We deliver skills, health solution, and space that young people to thrive as innovators, leaders, and change makers. Our impact is rooted in tackling complex issues like we'll be discussing today also. Today, we hope to achieve our four core goals, which are to explore gender based violence, mental health, connection, also hear from survivors and advocates, then also learn practical ways to support and ultimately build a community of change makers. And here is what we can expect from the next hours. You will hear powerful testimonies from girl leaders, get insights from traumas also and healing from referred to practical resources. You can also see today understand how to support girls on every front line, and critically you find a safe space to speak and ask questions, and also a community committed to change. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Halima. Before we dive in, I have a powerful exercise for us to do. Just a short, not a game per se, just an exercise to warm us up. After that, we'll have our speaker talk for about 15 minutes. Then we'll go into the discussion real quick. I want this to be very interactive. So we have a list of questions that we know that you want to ask. Okay, these are frequently asked questions we know you have in mind. So after our speaker presents for about 15 minutes, then we go into the questions and the answers. Before we dive in, let's participate in this exercise. I want to title this exercise Your Word, Your Voice, Your Commitment. Your word, your voice, your commitment. We want to hear from you and we want to see what drives your commitment to this issue. Not everybody's interested in this topic, so we would like to know what drives your commitment. So you're going to go to the chat box right now. Are you there? Are you in the chat box? Click on those three dots you see on your screen, and you will see in-call messages. That is the chat box. Go to your chat box right now and complete this sentence for me. I'm in the chat box and I am waiting to see your reply. I'm waiting to see your reply. You're going to complete this sentence for me. One word I associate with ending gender-based violence is. One word I associate with ending gender-based violence is, let me give you an example. It could be courage, it could be community. So just complete this sentence for me. Just one word. One word I can. Thank you, Precious. Precious says advocacy. Thank you very much. What can you associate? One word you can associate with ending gender-based violence. Precious says advocacy. I'm waiting. Thank you, community. Thank you very much, community. No, you don't need to raise your hand. I said there's three dots on your screen. Go there, you see in-call messages, then you type your response. Advocacy, community. Annie said community. Thank you. One word. One word. Somebody says policy. I definitely agree. Jacqueline says policy. I definitely agree. I totally agree. Policy. Acceptance. Latifa says courage. Thank you. Let's keep our answers coming in. The right circle. Oh, John says me. John says me. Me. John identifies that he can end gender-based violence. Somebody says the right circle. Aisha says awareness. Mary says awareness. Emanuela says sensitization. Peace says enlightenment. Thank you very much. Keep your answers coming in. I'll leave this for about 2 minutes. I want everybody to speak. Yes, empowerment. Thank you very much. What about justice? What about justice? What about hope? Yes, support. Someone says equality. Thank you very much. These are absolutely lovely answers. Lovely answers. One word I can associate with gender-based violence is sensitization, enlightenment, empowerment, support, equality, strength. Somebody Doka says strength. Peace says power. Definitely. Definitely. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let me just give one more minute. Means for me, I would say courage, community, justice, education, hope, accountability is a lot. Thank you very much. Excited at our answers. Seeing these words, justice, hope, community, enlightenment, strength, power, it shows the incredible heart we have in the room. Thank you very much. Thank you for making your commitment known. Now, let's get to the part. Before we would like to introduce Halima does a powerful job in introductions. What do you think? I think Halima is doing a great job. So I'll leave Halima to introduce our distinguished guest for today. Thank you. Over to you, Halima.
Okay, thank you very much, Abigail. So, it's absolutely honored to introduce our distinguished guest today, Miss Lucy Onwabashiru. She's the CEO of she's the she's study abroad agency, and Lucius teaches a dynamic fashion house also with a background in guidance and counseling. She has a dedicated career to empower individuals through education, entrepreneurship, and advocacy. She has served as a peer educator and a master trainer with a society for family health, that's SFH, where she trained peers on gender based violence, sexual and reproductive health, and also safe space creation. Her passion for mental health and social justice is rooted in years of counseling, mentorship, and also community engagement. Miss Lucy is committed to using her voice, gender equality, mental well-being, and also opportunities for young people to thrive. Thank you very much.
Okay, today Mrs. Lucy will walk us through the complexities of trauma and she'll walk us through the path of healing, leaving us with actionable knowledge and expert insights. Please, can we give a virtual round of applause for our guests? Your virtual hands. Thank you. Thank you very much. The floor is yours, Mrs. Lucy.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's a great honor to be here. By show of hands, please let me know if you can hear me clearly. Awesome. Thank you so much. It's good to be here. Just give me a minute to quickly share my slides. Thank you. Okay. Please, by show of hands also, if you can see my screen. Awesome. Thank you. Like I said, it's great to be here. I remember growing up, mental illness was the man who had thick locks, dirty clothing, who sat somewhere by the roadside, sleeping there and running after people. And our parents told us that if we, as as much as go close to that person, would be greatly spanked. And maybe there was the possibility that we could inherit that sickness. Growing up, exactly 1 year, 6 months ago, I realized, even at a more personal level, that that was not true. I'd suffered a great loss, and I found myself crying and quietly slipping into depression. And it was only when I broke the silence, I sought healing and a certain level of consolation. Today, we'll be discussing mental health and gender-based violence, breaking the silence. Sorry, excuse me, I'm having a little trouble with my screen. I'll be right with you. Okay, awesome. There is no health without mental health. According to the World Health Organization, and I know that in our current day and time, there's a lot of advocacy on physical health. You need to exercise your body, you need to be careful what you eat. And while there is a thin line between physical health and mental health, we need to come to the realization that mental health speaks of our overall well-being and the quality of our lives. And so that leads me to a very important question. What is mental health? Simply put, it is an overall healthy person who is able to manage their thoughts, regulate their emotions, manage expectations, work productively, manage positive relationship, realize and even build their full potential. As unconventional as this definition may sound, it truly talks about a person who is fully aware of how they feel, can talk about their emotions, can manage their emotions, can cope with new or unsettling realities, and are still able to actualize their full potentials in their workplace, in relationships, and generally overall. Now, while I gave a short story of what we were sold growing up as a mental health, what mental health was, it is not only what it really is. There are a lot of things that come together. It's not madness as we may know it that only define what a mental health problem is. It is actually just a part of mental health. But let's discuss on what mental health is not. It is not merely the absence of a mental illness, madness as we know it. A lot of people will say when you get in touch with your emotions or when you talk about how you feel, it makes you weak. No, mental health is not weakness. Some people think that it is only a problem associated with the poor. Some think only with the rich and the mighty. But the reality of mental health is it affects and impacts every one of us. It is not a luxury. It is a fundamental human need. Let's discuss about some types of mental health illnesses. They range through anxiety disorder, what we know as excessive worry, panicking over situations and circumstances, constant and persistent sadness, maybe just a loss of interest to do anything with yourself, post-traumatic stress disorder, following a traumatic event, maybe a loss of a loved one, maybe an accident or something very profound that has happened to us. It can also manifest itself as a personal disorder, greediness, or involvement in unhealthy habits, irritability, memory loss, or even harmful behaviors towards self and others. Now, what are the types of mental health? Mental health problem can result from a combination of factors. Let's take biological factor as an example. This could be genetics as we know it, chemical imbalances, hormonal imbalances, or even brain injury that could be as a result of genetics or even childbearing, lack of oxygen to the brain, and a host of others. We have psychological factors that include traumatic events, neglect, loss, and even stress. While we know that stress is a part of life, however, stress, if not properly managed, can actually lead to psychological mental illness. Social factors can include poverty, unemployment, discrimination, and violence. Interestingly, a statistic shows that 1 out of every 5 Nigerians is dealing with a mental health problem, all of which are greatly around social factors, poverty, unemployment, discrimination, and violence. Environmental factors like displacement, conflict, and war are also subtypes of mental illness. While we've discussed a little bit on mental illness, let's talk about gender-based violence, and then we'll come back to seeing how these two marry together and the best way we can as individuals, as groups, and as advocates to manage mental illness and gender-based violence. Please, if you're with me up to this point, let me see your thumbs up. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Gender-based violence is or refers to harmful acts directed to individuals based on their gender, oftentimes rooted in inequality, power dynamics between a man and a woman. According to the United Nations, gender-based violence includes any act that results in or is likely to result in physical, sexual, psychological harm, or suffering. And this may include threats, coercion, deprivation of liberty, whether public or private. Basically, a gender-based violence is any kind of harmful hurt that is meted on an individual based upon their gender. Statistics show that while gender-based violence goes both ways to both men and women, but on a scale of 100, women are susceptible to facing gender-based violence on an 80% ratio. Now, what are the types of gender-based violence? I know that some of the most common violence we know should be physical violence and violence. This will include assault in the person. Another commonly known kind of violence is the sexual violence, which is on coercion or coercion. Now let's talk about other forms of violence that greatly impact or have been proven to be the fuels to physical aggression. There is a common saying that has been psychologically proved over time that people may not remember what you say to them, but they will always remember how you make them feel. And when it comes to emotional and psychological violence, there is a close link to the things you say and how they create a feeling in an individual. For example, humiliation. To the person meeting this humiliation, it may just be words. But to the person being humiliated, this goes beyond just words. It is a feeling. It is words that are now quantified into emotions, and they continue to hurt over time. And from isolation and intimidation, we've seen that many people have thought out hideous plans or even very harmful ways of hurting others just because they are isolated or they are intimidated in one way or the other. Another very popular kind of gender-based violence that is known in Africa is the female genital mutilation. And this talks about partial or total removal of the female genitalia for non-medical reasons. There are many parts of the African countries that see this as a cultural thing, some even a trophy to be won. And this has many ripple and harmful effects on the woman. Another very common type of gender-based violence is child marriage. And this includes marrying off children. And this includes marrying off children under the age of 18. We also have trafficking in persons, economic and socio-economic violence, which include denying access to resources and education. Now, what are the causes of gender-based violence? Gender-based violence is basically fueled by social, economic, cultural factors, and this will include poverty. We've seen in a case of teenage marriage or marrying off the girl child, a lot of parents would exchange their children for things as small as a plot of land, maybe relationship status and association and things like that. If you look in depth, statistics show that parents who are now financially able to take care of the children and are exposed are most likely to kick against early child marriage. We also see that there is the issue of breakdown of services, which are policy related, weak community structures, and even lack of protective system for either the girl or the boy child. Another cause of gender-based violence would be conflict and war. We've seen that women in war situations are given as collateral damages for losing a war or even losing a conflict, either interstate, intercountry, and they are used and abused sexually as a result of this. There is displacement. While the mental health and the gender-based violence cost in Nigeria has greatly grown, we've seen a lot of refugee camps and settlement camps spring up over time. But some of these camps have also become centers for violence because if not properly managed and securities are not put in place, security measures, we've seen some people disguise who come to this camp to meant even more harm to refugees, as the case may be. We also know stress in the home, which includes domestic violence and emotional pressure and economic pressure. Now, this brings me back to the definition I gave earlier of what mental health could be, what mental health is. And we say that it's the ability of an individual to cope overall, right? To cope overall with life expectations, stress, work, and even productivity. And so when people are faced with emotional stress or even domestic violence and economic stress at home, it had led to gender-based violence. Now, we've spoken briefly about mental health and gender-based violence. Let's see, what is the relationship between mental health and gender-based violence? We have discussed that gender-based violence is any kind of harm that is being meted on an individual as a result of gender bias, right, or their gender individuality. And so mental health is greatly associated and interconnected with gender-based violence. And this is because most victims of gender-based violence suffer mental health problems that ranges from self-deprivation, depression, post-trauma disorder, anxiety, low self-esteem, isolation, and even self-degradation. We've seen that over time, the inability for people to manage their emotions after such a traumatic event or when gender-based violence is being meted on them has led to ongoing violence, which had created series of mental problems that may lead to hopelessness, feeling of unworthiness, of feeling less or unimportant, or feeling of being judged, and hence leading to silence and isolation. We've also seen that poor mental health, which can also be caused as a result of verbal abuse or physical abuse being meted on an individual, can actually lead them to become gender violent. Sometimes we've seen cases of maybe a lady being assaulted by a male gender, can later find as a coping technique to start assaulting other men or other young boys as a way of meting revenge, or even just a way of feeling a bit better the situation that individual has gotten back. So when it comes to mental health and gender-based violence, they are interrelated. A person who is mentally healthy would not want to hurt somebody else. And a person who has been affected by any form of gender-based violence is susceptible to mental problems that may affect not just only themselves, but other people around them. Now, the ultimate question: why should I break the silence? I was speaking to a young lady who shared an interesting experience with me. She had been greatly hurt and could not just get past it. She had spoken to me severally and wondered, Lucy, why can't I just let this go? I want to let it go, but I can't. And then I asked her why she couldn't let the feeling go. Somewhere in her subconscious, she was protecting the predator. She didn't want friends, families, or people who even knew this man to know about the things he did. She felt I was the victim, and if I speak up, it would just be more on me rather than on the predator. But over time, as we continued our conversation, what she realized was she was only empowering him. And that is why you should break the silence. The silence is not just about the one who has meted the harm in the case of a gender-based violence. It is about you taking bold steps to healing. It is about you discussing how you feel and accepting the reality of what has happened to you and ways to move forward. Do you know, the more you keep silent, the more the predator thinks he has power. Think about it. What is the first thing a person who is menting gender-based violence, let's take in the case of a rape, tells you? Do not tell anyone. If you tell anybody, I will do this and that. And that is because his or her power only thrives in silence. Which is to say, the more you keep quiet, the more you empower the predator. The less people who know about what the person had done or what has happened, the more people he's empowered to harm. So I would like us to take a short activity. And that will be writing in the chat box. I want 2 volunteers who will be willing to share a very short experience about something that has happened to them and who they think is at fault. If you can drop that in the chat box, that would be great. If you can unmute and just quickly share something, think about it. If you've had any kind of traumatic experience or anything that has happened to you in the past, can I briefly know what it is in maybe a sentence and who you think is at fault? Do I have volunteers in the house? Okay, Aisha, I see you. You can unmute. Aisha, I can't hear you. Peace. We have two volunteers, Aisha and Peace. Abigail, please, can you unmute Aisha and Peace? Aisha or Peace?
She's not muted, I think. Aisha, there's like a little mic on your screen that you can just tap to unmute yourself.
Peace, are you unmuted?
You didn't mute anybody.
Oh, okay.
Or let the next person go. The other person should go next.
Okay, Peace, are you here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just in a sentence or two.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello, Peace, I can hear you.
All are hearing me clearly.
Yes, we can.
I don't know if it's from my own end.
We can hear you, Peace.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Though the experience has been very long when it happened, I think when I was still growing up. So there's this man in our compound. He would just call me and then started like, how will I even call it? You know, small kids now, you buy for them biscuit and then you now start like touching and all of that. So when I noticed that attitude was not something that was okay, I had to like tell my mom and my dad. So they now noticed it closely, they watched me closely. When they noticed that I was doing that, they raised alarm and everybody in the compound was like, God forbid that man won't do that. He will not do that. What is that? So, but then my mommy warned him not to ever come close to her daughter and the rest. Could you believe that not long, not quite long, he did it. He did the same act with the owner of the compound, and it all resulted to police station. And from there, he went to prison. So I just thank God that my parents. What happened was that my parents took action then, and then I just thank God that.
Awesome. Thank you, Peace.
Yes,
thank you so much, Peace, for sharing your experience. Thank you. Do we have another volunteer? Just a quick experience, and then we can then conclude on this. Do we have any other volunteer? Okay. So why I ask this question is simply to also buttress the point of breaking the silence. Just as Peace has stated, imagine she didn't speak up. Imagine she had the fear of what her parent could say, or what would people think about me if I don't speak up concerning this. It would have resulted in even more situations. And maybe when the man in question do it to somebody else, they say, okay, this is his first time, God forbid, he cannot do it. But in this case, we saw that her parents were listeners. They listened, they took action. And because she broke the silence and spoke up, it was easy for them to apprehend him when he did it the next time. So every predator, when it comes to gender-based violence, is always thriving on our silence. And why I know that there is judgment and other societal issues people are scared of, stigmatization and judgment, your voice could be that sense of reason for the other person who cannot speak up. And when you begin to speak up, you begin to heal. When you begin to speak up, you begin to seek a community that can help you. And that brings me to practical ways to which we can work on our mental health and even advocate for gender-based violence. For mental health, one of the practical ways we can work on our mental health is an acceptance of our feeling. Like I said earlier, mental health is not a weakness and is not biased to status, size, color, race, or individuality. If you can access your feeling and you can talk about it, you are 10 times most likely to find a solution and work on how you feel. Secondly, it has been proven that physical exercise and mental health are closely related. Now you've spoken up, you've sought help to a trusted community, a trusted friend, a trusted family, and you're seeking more professional help. It is important to keep fit. There is an hormone that is released when you carry out physical exercises that naturally helps to build your mood and your productivity. And then finally, knowing that mental health issues do not just spring up from a particular place, but as a result of our ability to cope with our everyday life, basically your ability to manage stress. It is important that when faced with a situation, it's important to identify the stressors, address them, and do the things you love as a medium to relax. When it comes to gender-based violence, it is important to speak up. Speak up. Get a trusted community of people you can talk to. There is the saying that a broom as a bunch cannot be easily broken, but as a piece of broom, it can be broken in a second. What this simply means is coming up to help people speak up, to protect your right as a human, a right to freedom. And hence, it is important that you speak up. Also, as a part of helping and alleviating gender-based violence is our ability to listen, to believe, and to take action. It's one thing to speak up. It's another thing for us to believe the person who is speaking up and take actions towards ensuring that the predators, in this case, justice is meted on them and the victim receives justice from their end. Having said this, I would open the floor to all our questions and we'll continue to discuss from here. Your individual questions will lead to solutions to attending to individual issues as the case may be. But this is just a general insight into what mental health is, what it is not, the close relationship between mental health and gender-based violence, and how we as individuals, community, and as a group can help to stop gender-based violence. I leave you with this quote. Takes two to tango. And what this simply means is your silence, your inability to speak up is a way or a show of partnership with whatever the issue.
Much, Mrs. Lucy. Can we give a virtual round of applause? Thank you very, very much for that insightful session. So we would like to discuss further before our time is up. And this is very critical for creating awareness. Now, as a Black person, as a Black woman, before I used to think that depression was for white people. They don't have problems, so they are bothered about things that someone should not even be thinking about. Yes, but I've come to discover that yes, it is not dependent on race, on whether you're rich or poor. It can happen to anybody. So we would like to ask, how do I know I'm suffering from depression? You mentioned a couple of things: lack of interest in like doing your stuff. Maybe you're low mood and other things like that. How do I know I'm depressed? We live in a society where when you're stressed, that's when you're hardworking. Like there's a lot of hustle, like just to make it, especially as young people. So how do I know I'm depressed? How am I sure that it's not just stress, or maybe that's my mechanism of coping with stress? How do I know I'm depressed? And in addition to that question, I would like for other people, apart from myself, for other people, how do I know? How can I detect that another person is suffering from depression? Because some people can be suffering and smiling at the same time. So how can I know that this person is battling with depression?
Okay, thank you for that question. Psychologically, it has been proven that depression is a persistent sadness, hopelessness, or even loss of interest that is consistent for at least a period of 2 weeks and above. So let's say I'm going through something right now. I just lost my job and I'm sad about it. Well, it's okay because one of what mental health is an awareness of your emotions, right? An awareness of your situations. But then you cannot lose interest in everything. You cannot lose interest over a series of time. I'm talking today, tomorrow, the day after, 2 weeks, you're still thinking, oh, suicidal thoughts, persistent negativity over a situation is already an indication of depression. Like I said, given the statistics, say over 2 weeks and more. We all face life. They say mental health is the ability to cope with stress, and stress is a part of life. But the best way is an awareness of what is causing the stress or the situation on ground and thinking of ways to move forward. So when you are constantly having persistent sadness, low drive, consistently 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and above, it's a strong indication that you're falling into depression. Because it is a natural instinct of man, yes, to feel bad about a situation, but in no time, there is a tendency to pick up and move on. So it could be a temporary sadness, a temporary loss of interest, but when it is consistent for a duration of time, that's a strong indication. The consistency is the strong indication of depression.
Thank you very much, Ma. So you mentioned ways to cope with this issue. You talked about doing something you love. You also talked about doing an exercise. You said physical exercise helps you to overcome this issue. So at what point do I get to that? If exercise does not work, if talking to somebody does not work, if doing what I love does not work, at what point do I need drugs? Like I've heard that they're like, maybe if you go to a psychologist and maybe after your session with the person, I think there are drugs called antidepressants, right? So like at what point do I like need these drugs?
Okay, thank you. Okay, so in the case of an antidepressant, you are not you are not advised to um, prescribe that to yourself, right? So that is a case where you have seen or sought a professional psychological help. Now, the psychologist in alliance with a medical doctor would decide when you need that. But this is not a medication advised to anyone to prescribe for themselves. That being said, when people face mental health issues, Please note that I had said it is a consistency of a certain kind of emotions and feelings over time. So which means it did not just happen in a day, it took time. Individuals should also accept that the healing of a mental health issue or any kind of violence or any kind of mental issues would require time. And so it is a work in progress. But your commitment towards it, which will mean your commitment to speaking up, your commitment to harnessing the feelings, assessing that feelings, acceptance, and even working closely with a psychologist would help you over time to heal.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ma. I would like to share like a little experience, then a follow-up question. So when I was in my 400 level, I was doing my IT. There I worked in a like research lab. So there was this old man. I would notice that he would say, "Oh, my wife, Abigail, my wife," and like he was old and I was like a young girl now, and he would when I greet him, he would like hug me from behind, but then I noticed that his hand will now like slide down my backside. The first time it happened, I was like okay, like I felt very uncomfortable and I thought it was a mistake. But then it happened again and that was when I made him know that what he did was unacceptable. And of course I spoke up. I met the coordinator of the place, and I was told that he had been suspended before for that kind of action. So speaking up is very, very important. And I was moved from his lab. I was moved from that lab to another lab. Speaking up is very, very important. Now, I would like to ask for somebody like that. Of course, he was suspended, but then it's obvious that he's still into it. It's like he still did it again. And if I didn't speak up, he would have probably gone further to abuse me. So for that kind of person or in that kind of like, what do you do? What do you, as I said, the man is like elderly. Of course, we shouldn't respect that kind of a person. He shouldn't be respected. So what do we do after speaking up? Okay, you have been excused, but what about others? What if he does the same to others?
Okay, thank you for that question. Just to be clear, the question is, what do you do to ensure other people are not affected by this individual? Is that the question?
Yes, yes. And what do you do to make sure? Because I don't feel like I don't feel suspension is enough.
Mm.
I don't know if you get me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I totally get what you're saying. Part of your responsibility towards ensuring that others are not affected by this in person was speaking up to the right authorities. Now, some of the challenges we faced with predators and people who meant gender-based violence is the fact that policies have not been fully implemented towards them. And that is what advocacy groups and the United Nations and other groups are fighting on, to ensure that when cases like this get to the authorities, prompt actions are taken about such cases, right? Prompt actions are taken to ensure that the predator does not repeat itself. Predator does not repeat the same incident. But you've done what one of the most important things, which is speaking up. And why we would say that the measures taken were not stringent enough to stop him, which is policies being worked on that, which are policies being worked on, is also important that even in and around the people around you, I'm talking about your friends, I'm talking about anybody you see, don't go near that man. No, this is what he does. It's also part of speaking up. While we are advocating and working towards ensuring that policies are put in place that are stringent enough to tackle such issues, right? And there are some people who they fired off their jobs and will still go home and do the same thing. So some of these people even need to be rehabilitated, put somewhere and worked on. And you
That's
cannot be
right.
solely responsible for that, as the case may be, right? So one of the best ways is speaking up, and not just to authorities, because we've seen cases where authorities will even try and hide some of those things to protect their names.
Yeah.
Right? So it means speaking up to your friends, speaking up to everyone who needs to hear. The silence must be broken. Everybody must know that this man is a no-go area.
Thank you very much. I think we will just move to our last question so that we can round up. So I know that a couple of people on this call are interested in advocacy on these issues, gender-based violence. Is there any, like, how can we break into advocacy? How do we break into advocacy for those of us interested in breaking the silence on these issues? And also, are there resources? Are there resources? Maybe do you have books, or do you have platforms that people can join? I mean, Binarify community is a great platform to join for these issues. But do you have like other resources that you can recommend? Maybe books or solutions that can help us help people, and also those of us that are interested in advocacy. How do we start?
Okay, thank you for that question. Advocacy starts with you. Advocacy starts with standing for something you strongly believe is right and lending your voice continuously towards it. That is where advocacy starts from. If I would say that there is a community, or there are resources to tap in a case of maybe financial resources and all of that, just readily sitting and waiting for you, that would not be true. A lot of times it's impact over time that draws the attention to what you stand for. So advocacy starts with you. It starts with lending your voice to one person. It starts with taking it to 10 people, to a community, to a group. You and I are advocacy. You and I are going to chair the cause of gender-based violence and sexual reproductive health. And it begins with standing for something and seeing it through consistently. Now, when it comes to resources on gender-based violence, what we have basically would be researches into what it is, the ripple effect. Some of these resources will be suggested in the WhatsApp group. So it will be sent to Binarify and will be dropped in the WhatsApp group for people to read through courses they can take on gender mutilation, gender-based violence, because the goal here is most advocacy groups are trying to create awareness. Some of these things we call mental health issues are seen as a norm to life. So when a parent is using abusive words to demean a child, it is seen as parenting, not necessarily as a form of mental health issue or as a form of violence, as the case may be. So awareness needs to be created. People need to know more on what gender-based violence is, what mental health is, and how it even cuts across to affect them as individuals. So in short, resources will be shared to you and then subsequently shared to the group, but advocacy begins with you. It begins to lend in your voice. It begins with webinars like this, consistently talking about what you're passionate about, and not just that, partnering with individuals that can push in solutions, whether it be physically, whether it be emotionally, mentally, or psychologically.
Thank you. I mean, this has been very insightful. Personally, I don't know about our people in the house, but if you have been impacted, if you have benefited greatly, can we just give a round of applause to Mrs. Lucy? Let's truly celebrate her. I mean, she came fully loaded and she delivered. She understood the assignments. Thank you very much, Ma. We are grateful for the expertise and the empathy you shared. It is truly invaluable. You can find her. I'm sure she's on Instagram. Ma, what's your Instagram handle?
I am Lucy. I am _Lucy.
I am _Lucy. You can find her on Instagram. If you have further questions, I believe she's open to DMs. Follow her and DM her like to ask further questions. I would also want to extend a massive gratitude to our incredible partners, Binarify International Limited, for making this crucial knowledge sharing possible. It is because of organizations like this that we are able to benefit and, talk about education and also be empowered. Finally, I would like to thank this community of change makers, Binarify Community Outreach BCO. We would like to build this community of change makers. The next step is very simple. Follow Binarify Community on Instagram. As I'm talking now, you can go to Instagram, just type Binarify Community Outreach and give us a follow. Give us a follow. We're also on LinkedIn, Binarify Community Outreach. Check on LinkedIn, you'll find us there. Give us a follow. Yeah, and if you're interested, I believe this session was recorded. If you're interested, join the group chat so that you can get a replay. And the resources that our speaker talks about, we'll be sending them there on the community. And also, it is important you join this community so that you can sign up for our next events. We didn't come to play. We didn't, as you have seen, we didn't come to play. Thank you very much, Mrs. Lucy. We are very grateful. Thank you for breaking
Been a
the
pleasure.
silence with us today. Yeah, remember that change starts with you. Change starts with you. Advocacy starts with you. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful night and see you at our next webinar. If you need to reach out to anybody, my number is there in the chat box. You can reach out to anybody. Okay, our